is, you want to understand your current state of data governance, determine what barriers there are to effective use of data within your organization, identify and define real outcomes and goals. And I want to talk about that for a minute. So when I talk about real outcomes, this is part of this assessment, is that I'm not talking about just data governance outcomes. Like, oh, we're going to build a business glossary, and that business glossary is going to have 1,000 definitions. We have 800 definitions out of 1,000. That is a measure of data governance, but that's actually not what I'm talking about. The question is, why are you building that business glossary? Maybe we're building it because there's a lack of understanding of data in an organization that leads to mistrust. Maybe there's a real lack of people who are able to do self-service reporting because they don't know this information, or there's a bunch of questions around the data that comes in. These are some of the barriers to use, right? So if you determine that you want to have more self-service reporting, you want to have less questions to your support team about data on reports, you want to have less rework on reports, and faster turnaround on answering questions that people ask. Those are the real outcomes, right? Of which having a business glossary, or building a data request process, or having a data catalog, those types of things will serve those purposes. So it is good to measure the actual output of your governance process, but it's good to understand and identify what those real outcomes and goals are that you're trying to do. Why are you doing governance? We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Understanding your data environment, what tools and systems people are working at a high level from an assessment standpoint, and the feasibility of governance around those tools. Understanding the current data business processes. So how are people asking, how are people getting questions answered when they need the reports? If people see data quality issues, how are they reporting that? What's the process of getting access to systems, or all those types of things, like understanding what's happening within your organization currently. Identifying organizational support. So part of also doing this assessment is, who is gung-ho about participating in governance, who's a good candidate for stewards, who may be a problem and maybe wouldn't be feasible to be part of the initial group of governance because they don't have the capacity or interest in it right now. Related to is also, as you do an assessment like this, it's an opportunity to educate and build buy-in, particularly from people who may not understand what you're doing or the value of it. So just going out and asking people for their input and what they're doing and what problems they're having and all that kind of stuff, and having them feel heard can help to build that organizational support down the road too. And then lastly, like, the whole purpose of this is to build and provide accurate information for the further planning. So getting all this information we just talked about in a format that then lets you put together your plan.